We are almost there. It's
Do you
still
want me to
spinning.
go live
Um,
on
I am
LinkedIn?
going. You'll need to create a new live stream or go
Okay.
live. I'm gonna go live individually on LinkedIn, so we get all the people that were on that page, and
Yeah.
then we'll be live on the other spots as well.
Okay.
So we're already live on Facebook and YouTube. And let's see. And there's LinkedIn. Welcome, Mike. Welcome, Mike. We're glad you were able to join us. Denise, hey, sister.
Hey,
Oh
Denise.
man, I'm going to mess up your name. It looks like Fiacre. I hopefully you'll get a chance to fix that for me because I know that was not right. That was my Texas tongue doing your name an extreme disservice. So
The
I
Texas
apologize
tongue.
for that. That Texas tongue, it'll get me every time. It means well. It means well. Oh goodness. All right. So, oh, you guys, you know what? Can you guys give me a thumbs up? Are y'all able to see Erik on LinkedIn? I don't see any thumbs going up, so they
Oh
cannot see
no.
you. So you just need to join that live as well, Erik, and that way
Okay.
they'll be able to see you everywhere.
Okay.
So, hello, Will Baptiste. We're getting started in just a moment. As soon as Erik joins the live on LinkedIn, we're using a couple of different streaming services, so this one's going live a few different places. Welcome, Isaiah. Glad to see you here. There he is. Erik has joined us. So I know that. Uh oh, just mute your mic. There we go. There you
Okay.
go. I know that Brian and others are joining momentarily. We were just wrapping up another room, so we're jumping from spot to spot, trying to get it all in today. But we are excited about this room. We are going to introduce to you guys, and for most of you, some of you, you know Erik. You've been in many rooms with him, but you're going to get to know him a little bit more intimately today. Get to know more about his journey, and how he's gone about publishing the series that he has and what's gone into that.
Mhm.
So you're going to get the real Erik experience today. You get to know more about the man, the myth, the legend.
Wow.
And I'm excited to bring him to you all. And hopefully, the questions that come forth will give you all a great insight on who this young man really is and give him the opportunity to really share his story. Jay, Brian, and Denise, the Fam Five, have made it in the room. So those of you who are on LinkedIn, you guys have audio. If you're watching from Facebook or YouTube, have video as well, and you can see Mr. Erik looking all dapper.
I had to
Welcome,
match
David.
your swag.
You had to
We
match
had
my
to
swag.
match.
You had to
We
match the
had to
swag.
match. Mhm.
Well, welcome, David. I welcome you to the room as well. We are going to go ahead and get started. I have the pleasure of introducing to you guys my friend, my brother, Erik Clark. I've only known Erik for a short time. We were surprised. We were the Fam Five. We were kind of calculating not too long ago, and we're saying a couple of months, but that's stretching it. It hasn't even really been that long. But we had an energy, a connection that was just absolutely undeniable, and we knew we wanted to move together, figure out some things together, and enjoy life together. Everything, all these rooms and everything that we do are more enjoyable when we get a chance to interact with each other because we've gotten the opportunity to know each other at that level. And today you all will get to know Erik so much more. You'll get to know more of Erik like we do as the Fam Five. As the Fam Five. Erik is a poet, he's an author, he's a storyteller. Erik is a lover
Mm.
of words, a lover of life, a lover of nature. And we're going to dig in and hear more about who he is. So I want to welcome you all to a new level of Mr. Erik Clark.
Mm.
And if you guys can just give him some hearts, I think he's a little nervous. It's hard to take the skin off, y'all. He's taking his clothes off, he's taking his skin off, and he is showing up as his authentic, genuine self with his heart exposed and ready to share his story in hopes of uplifting and in inspiring someone else. So Eric,
Absolutely.
welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank
And
you.
I'm so glad. I just want to ask you first, what motivated you to even want to do this? It's hard to be naked, and to be
Absolutely.
naked and skinless is
Mhm.
that's where we're going today. So, what motivated you to even want to have this experience?
Well, thank you for doing this. First of all, we've been joking about how this is your Gail King moment, but it seriously is. You are glowing. I look forward to your questions and the conversation. Uh, just full disclosure, we did not prep. We did not go over the questions she's going to ask me, and so I'm really excited about diving in and having the conversation. So first and foremost, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you, and yeah, just looking forward to the discussion. I wrote the book because twofold. I was going through real mental health issues. I was feeling suicidal, depressed. And so this was kind of like a last effort to empty my vessel, to share what it is that I had with my children, with my family, with those that love me and or love me. And to kind of just give that last, I felt like the last of what I had. Um, and also to as to reach out to my father, who also is a lover of stories and a lover of storytelling. And so I wanted to reflect what he had given me my whole life, which is these incredible stories that taught me lessons, that motivated me and encouraged me. And so this this book or this these writings were an attempt for me to be reflective, to look inside, to share what I had within, and then also to uh, uh, reflect some positivity in my life. Because at that time, again, I was not feeling healthy, not feeling well, and wanted to encourage myself, motivate myself in some way. So that came out in my writings.
I think you need to unmute for the LinkedIn audience now. Try it.
Okay, it may give my feedback
I muted my mic. Oh, they said it sounds like you're in a tunnel. So,
in a tunnel.
did you unmute?
I'm unmuted now.
Okay. Is that better, guys? Okay, I see some thumbs up.
I see some thumbs up, but now we're getting that echo.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. We'll figure it out.
Turn the volume down on my mic. See if that helps. And I'll mute
But now I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
because that. Yep, I muted the mic while I was talking. So we might, if we drop StreamYard and just go straight um, to LinkedIn, you won't have the recording. Is the only issue with that.
Hmm. And
Yeah,
we want the record. This is gonna win you an Emmy.
I know, right?
Um, I can
Oh, he said
unmute when
go
I
ahead and
respond,
unmute.
but
Yeah,
then they can't hear the question.
I'll ask the question and then I'll mute and let you
Okay,
do. Just go
I can
back and.
unmute it. Okay, okay.
Hmm. Hmm. All right. So my first question with you for you is about writing as a
Hmm.
tool. When did you realize? Because I had the honor of reading through quite a bit of what you've already written, and it took me some places, and some of the places were hard places to go.
Hmm.
I saw inspiration and sharing and wanting to, pull. Now I'm muted. Oh, I sure am. How's that? All right. So the question that I was asking him was about his experience with writing and when writing became a tool for him, and how did he learn that writing was something that he could use to deal with some of the difficulties and obstacles that he was faced with, because I had the honor of going through some of his earlier writings, and it took me some places, and all the places were not places I really wanted to go. So there's some real stuff that this brother has gone through. But but he's an open book, and he shared that with us. So let me ask you that question about writing in it as a tool for you to deal with what you were facing. When did that come about, and you knew that that was something that would help you?
I would say 3, 4 years ago. I would say it wasn't long. I've always loved writing, but I didn't use it as a skill to help me deal with the things that I struggled to deal with. And so I would say as of recently, and then trusting my voice too. And so I started writing before I understood what my writing process would be, and so I had to come into the writing process as well by understanding how to get myself to the place to where I could reflect on and be accurate in describing how it felt, it smelled, it touched, it tasted, the experience that I was describing. And so it's still a process. I'm still learning how to trust myself in my writing and go deeper into the emotions of the experiences. And so I would still say that I'm early on this process. I hope to be with you in 2 years and be talking about volume 4, volume 5. And so I'm a lifelong writer for sure.
I love that. Thanks, Eric. All right, now you go ahead and mute. So there's a couple of terms that I think it would be good for you to lay out for us and give us the connection to those terms and what it is you're doing with this platform and with your writing. When I first heard blunt force trauma, I assumed that you had experienced some sort of a head injury, or someone close to you had. And because of that, you had got into counseling and things, and you were writing about that experience. That is not what this is actually about. So tell us a little bit about why you write, and what types of stories you're really sharing, and why you chose blunt force trauma as the title for those writings.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. That is a great question, and one that I get often, why the association with blunt force trauma. I did have a concussion. I did experience blunt force trauma in that way when I was in college. That's one of the stories I didn't talk about in the book, but there are many stories I didn't talk about in the book, which is why there'll be several volumes of this edition, because the experiences are, there are a lot. There are a lot. And as I continue to process and learn and grow and love myself, I can approach them from different angles to help people see a light, see how I experienced that, how overcome that, and hopefully folks can take from that as well. And so, blunt force trauma comes from the experience of that I describe as a Black American refugee experience. So let me go into that a little deeper. Growing up on, or being born on the South Side of Chicago, I was born in a mecca of Blackness, amazing Black experience, from the art to the culture to hip hop to um, uh, music. Just the whole scene of the South Side of Chicago was like the Harlem Renaissance. It was just amazing mecca of Black excellence, forming different ways to express that. And it was, you know, behind none. I love my neighborhood, my barber. My barber was one of the most one of the most amazing people I met. Just his ability to control the climate, but also vibe with it as well, was just. I mean, I saw folks, stars, walk in there, and he was the star in his shop. And so, the culture, you can't get, it couldn't be better. So almost overnight, it felt that my community was flooded with crack cocaine, and overnight, my neighborhood became unsafe. There were shootouts in broad daylight. There were school shootings. I experienced school shootings decade before Columbine. That was a normal thing for me. So when Columbine happened, it was like the rest of the world doesn't experience life the way that I do. That was definitely one of those moments where, like, there's a completely different world we live in. because I've been living through school shootings for a long time. Um, so the violence made me a refugee. The violence did not allow you to continue to live life with any continuity, with any community values, with any sense of normalcy. And it wasn't healthy. And so I talk a lot about unregistered bullets. Um, Bullets have no names. Once they get in the environment, life is taken. And so we were forced to move. And so that refugee experience is what I write about. Everything that's happened since then, whether it be mental health, um, uh, being proud of who you are, loving yourself, accepting yourself. I talk about my wide nose and big lips a lot because of the ridicule I received once I moved, and how much those things that I associate with Blackness were devalued. And thus I devalued myself. And so learning how to love myself has been a process. It continues, but I'm committed because I know that my value now. And so coming into knowing your worth, knowing your value, which is how I end the book, because I don't want I don't want folks to get the depiction that it's all trauma. It's all the healing journey is the last part, third part of the book, where I talk about how daily affirmations, positive mental attitude, getting the positive, or getting a mindset coach if needed, going to counseling. Those things are healthy. Those things help you grow and become your best self. They should not be shamed. They should be accepted as a part of your journey.
I love that, Eric. And the first poem that really grabbed me was Chicago.
Hmm.
And the reason that it grabbed me is I could feel the yin and the yang, the juxtaposition of being so proud of where you
Hmm.
were from, and then at the same time being so distraught over the destruction that, like you said, felt like it happened overnight. And then you were forced to take this journey that you didn't necessarily sign up for. You
Right.
went into a new environment, and you touched on it a little bit. What you said was that that environment didn't celebrate the blackness and the things that are known, or that were known for you as associated with your blackness, be it your facial features, the
Hmm.
music that you love, your culture. Now you're in a different place.
Hmm.
So how old were you then?
I want to say I was 3, 4, still very young.
Wow.
But over the years of me living there in Madison, from I want to say 94 to 2004, and I think the numbers were did again for the next decade after that, 50% of the Black men under 18 and above 18 were arrested in the county that I lived in. So it just, when you look at the numbers, like really um, how Black bodies met these institutions were always in a way where we were taken advantage of, we were overrepresented, whether that be in hospitals for organ donation, or whether that be in criminal justice system with incarceration. It was The numbers bear out the experience being catastrophic to be Black in Dane County.
Yeah, me and my husband were just talking about a similar situation, not on the same magnitude, but the system. We were just talking about the system and how there is a overpopulation of minority children in the detention centers and in
Hmm.
that part of the school system
Yep.
than their white counterparts, even if the percentages don't bear out. And
Yeah.
where this conversation goes awry, and why I think people don't get it, is because there's some institutionalized racism, and there's
Hmm.
commercialism that we're so accustomed to seeing. If all you see Black people do on TV is
Oh,
the
that was
devil.
me.
Oh, was
That
it?
was me. That
I
was
was gonna say the
me.
devil didn't want me to get that out. He trying to censor me.
No doubt.
But what I was gonna say is that there's this assumption that it's only happening because you're doing the wrong thing. And if
Right.
you don't want to be a part of the system, then do the right thing and you'll be okay.
Right.
And that point of view is so short-sighted. I've got a nephew who has never been anything but on the right side of the law.
Mhm.
Love him dearly. He's like a son, but he's my sister's son. And I remember this kid struggling in school and finally getting it together and being so excited. And all he wanted, and some of you guys will know what this is, was a deuce and a quarter. He wanted that. He wanted this big car. And he
Mhm.
was all excited about this because that's what he saw his uncles drive when
Mhm.
he was a young
Mhm.
man. And so to him,
Yep.
that had a level of success. I'm making it. I'm getting
Mhm.
somewhere. That marked a milestone in his young mind. And so when he got the job that he was looking for, he bought that car.
Mhm.
I live in the suburbs.
Mhm.
My neighborhood is so diverse. It's a nice little mecca. Not necessarily my police, but the neighborhood itself.
Mhm.
But when he bought that car, every time, almost every time he left my neighborhood, he got pulled over.
Mhm.
Wasn't necessarily speeding, wasn't anything
Mhm.
in, but that car meant something to the
Mhm.
people who were watching. And that
Mhm.
car said, this is possibly somebody who's doing wrong. And
Mhm.
people who haven't been marginalized at that level, who haven't been targeted, have a hard time understanding that concept. And they think, well, Black people, if you don't want to go to jail more than we do, then just quit being criminals.
Right.
But when you're criminalized,
Mm.
because of the skin that you're in, it,
Speak
it
on
makes it very difficult. I mean, eventually the last time he got pulled, it happened like 3 or 4 times leaving my neighborhood. He got pulled over and then he would call all upset. I'd talk him through it, and then he'd make his way on home. The last time it had been raining quite a bit leading up to him coming to my house that week. And when he got pulled over, this time they said something about a light being out, which it wasn't, but that's what they
it.
said.
Mhm.
And they made him get out of the car, and they looked into his car where his muddy shoes had been, and there was dried mud. And they say, oh, it looks like you may have drug paraphernalia in your car. You may have the remnants of drugs in your car. So
Mhm.
they pulled him out of the car, handcuffed him, threw him down on the sidewalk, and there he sat. And this is like one of the mildest people that you could ever meet.
Yeah.
And so I can only imagine how shaken he was.
Mhm.
And they did whatever they needed to do, did the investigation, determined it wasn't drugs, and sent him on his way. And when you get profiled like that, you don't get, oh my bad, I made a mistake, I never should
Mhm.
have. You actually are still challenged every step of the way. So if you allow your emotions to catch up with you,
Mhm.
things go bad really, really quickly. So
Really
we're
quickly.
taught as little people, we're taught how we have to behave in just driving
Mhm.
Black in America. We're taught.
Mhm.
There's a whole, I will never forget. I didn't have the same conversation with my girls. I didn't have the same angst with my girls that I had with my son. When my son got his driver's license, I had a panic attack, not because he was going to be unsafe driving and he may get in an accident, because he was a kid who'd grown up in the suburbs. He had friends of every color of the rainbow. He got to
Mhm.
experience things as a young Black kid that I never did. And I was so afraid that he was desensitized to his Blackness and what could happen to him if he thought he could do the same things that his friends could do.
Mhm.
And it scared me. It took me a long time to get over that. And that's hard to explain to someone who isn't wrapped in this skin and who hasn't had that kind of experience. But I felt you throughout your book. So I just want you to tell us, as you were writing and reliving these experiences and getting them on paper, what did it do for the Erik who had been marginalized, who
Yes.
had been forced out of his environment, and now you're in a space that's so different than what you knew and what you loved?
It was like giving myself a hug. It was the affirmation that I needed. I experienced this. I accept it. I will take out of it what I can to help me keep moving forward. But most importantly, I will continue to move forward because things happen for me and not to me.
That's
And
right.
that was one of the first things that you told me. I almost said Miss King, Miss Terry, that that just stuck with me, that just grabbed me and just like tackled me like, I am your father. I love you. I've always been here with you. Whenever you need me, you call on me, and I'm right here with you. You're never alone. Um, Things happen for you, not against you. let's move forward with that attitude and see how I don't move things for your way. And so it's just been leaning into your faith. That's what this writing experience has been about: leaning into your faith, trusting that that you are cared for, you're loved, and that things are happening for you and not to you.
How did you maintain your faith when you were going through, when the bullets were flying and shootings were happening in your school and all of that?
I was always in prayer. My mother sat me down, taught me how to pray, asked me to pray in His Son's name, to pray to the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. And so when she gave me those guidelines, those point of views to help structure my prayer, it
Hmm.
established my relationship with God. And I just kept that relationship going, even whether I was going to church or not, or doing this or not. I remained in relationship. And I think as my mental health became a concern, I turned away from that relationship. And
Hmm.
writing was the first step in turning back into that relationship and then leaning in further.
Well, let's go there, Eric.
Okay.
Let's talk a little about the mental health. What did you
Absolutely.
experience in that space, and what are you comfortable sharing with the audience?
Depression was definitely one of those mental health situations that really shaped where I am now, who I am today. And so, that disorder, in that place where you were unhealthy and unbalanced, it was, I was 300 plus pounds. I was losing sleep, losing friendships and relationships because I was irritable and pushing people away. I was tired. I wasn't into my dreams at all, or living my fantasy, or living my purpose, living in purpose. And so it was a exhausting, stressful time. And so, in starting that process and understanding and coming to a place where I'm tired of being tired, I'm so tired, I'm tired of being tired. Sitting down with that pen and pencil, committing to my workout regimen was the first thing I committed to after committing to writing and journaling, and then really digging into that. I was running 2 hours twice a day for I think 3 months. I mean, I really dropped the weight quickly, which helped me feel better, motivated me to get up and to move in the area and the spaces that benefited me, that made me feel good. And so, going through that process of asking for help, loving myself, relearning myself, getting counseling, journaling, the physical fitness. I'm 245 right now. So maintaining the health that once you get there, now maintain it. And so using all these different tools and practices to help with staying as healthy and me as possible is where I am today.
We're so glad to have you as you are and at your best. So you talked about the physical weight gain. You talked about some of the things that you were feeling. Was there a particular incident, or did it just happen over time? What was that low point? If you think about the lowest point that you got before you started to bring yourself back, what was that low point, and what triggered it?
My divorce, absolutely. Going through a divorce, a separation, having a different custody arrangement with my children. My life had changed drastically, and I felt like I wasn't a part of it. And so I definitely used that time to step back, and I actually moved to Wisconsin and stayed with my parents for about a month. And in that month, just literally every day, running, telling stories, listening to stories, being loved on, eating healthy, really waking up every day and establishing the habits that were going to fuel me moving forward. And so that was that breaking point for me. And I told my dad one day I woke up in the morning, and my mom had went in the other room, and my dad was on the other side of the bed. I said, "Dad, this is the low point for me. Um, I'm too old to be sleeping in the bed with you." I said, "Now I'm glad that I have a father that loves me enough that allows me to come back home and be nourished and be loved on. I'm so thankful and appreciative for that. But now that we got that and we here and we did what we need to do, I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out of here." So that was definitely my low point. I'm glad that at that point I was able to be surrounded by loved ones and still laugh and know that it's only up from here at that point. And so that was right before I published the first book, and so it was meant to be.
Was the book, as you were going through the trouble in your marriage, was the book and the writing a part of working through that, or did you write it quickly after all of that?
No, it was definitely part. It was definitely part. There were definitely readings and or writings that I can go back to now, and I'm even thinking of as we're talking about that. It was like, man, I was crying and nose bubbling while I'm writing and just working through it. There were a lot of long days, a lot of lonely days, which at the time it was torture. It felt like days could stretch on for weeks in one day. But it was so necessary to spend that time alone and to work through and process those feelings and emotions and find ways to intervene to motivate myself to uh, establish traditions that supported me, to find my tribe, to find my tribe. And so God knew what he was doing. I just didn't know. And so thank goodness.
One of the things that I've noticed in getting to know you is your relationship with nature. So that seems to be
Mhm,
one of the ways that
mhm.
you came through and how you stay in this serene place that you are now. Can you talk to us about your relationship with nature and what that's done for you, and maybe some of the other techniques that you've developed to keep you on the path that you're on now?
Absolutely. So once I got into the running, I started to get, blisters on my feet. Anybody that, that runs or spends lots of time on a bike or something, they'll start to have things going on with the feet. And so once my feet started to act up, I said, let me take these shoes off. Let me find another way to stay physically active, but to take these shoes off so I'm not beating up on my feet while I'm trying to um, get a healthy weight. And so I just started taking off my shoes and walking in the grass. And I realized that I felt better after I did that, and started to look up grounding and what that was about. And so now grounding has become part of the techniques I use every day. Grounding to me is like using a neti pot. That's something else I do every day. Washing your nose out. Just clean your nose out with water. These things are very natural and help you live a better life in my opinion. But then also, it's backed up, right? The connecting with the ground, grounding yourself is something that helps you with your inflammation, helps you with um, just helping your body return to a harmonic state. I think that uh, the genius in it, or uh, it's something that all cultures use. That's what I was gonna say. The connectivity of it. What culture doesn't have a grounding practice? And so when you get to looking at practices like that, you're like, oh, okay, everybody uses it. It must work. And so, yeah, those are practices in particular that I use daily that help with me just feeling like my best self, showing up as my best self.
Love it, love it, love it. I grew up in the country, so shoes was something we did when we had to be formal.
Hmm,
I
hmm,
love running around. That's also why I have to get pedicures on the regular. All that running
hmm.
around, do some things to your feet. But I wanted to transition for a moment. We're going to come back to the writings, but I want, for those who will see this afterwards, they'll see that around your name and around our videos, there's butterflies everywhere.
Mm,
And so I want you to talk to us about the butterfly sanctuary, how that came
yeah.
about, what it means, and what your goals are for the butterfly sanctuary.
Absolutely. Thank you for that opportunity, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about the Butterfly Sanctuary, because that ultimately is my dream and where this is going. And so during that time where I didn't know what would be next, where my life had become really quiet, and I was kind of waiting to receive an answer about what my next step would be. I was spending time with my daughter, and Brian talks all the time about being with your daughter, and that being this surreal experience where you feel so connected and in a spiritual place. And so I was listening, and I heard I heard him say that this is it. And I was following my daughter, and there was a butterfly that was like right above her head, and we had been circling the little acre of land that I had in the house that I was renting. And that butterfly was everything. It stayed with us. And it became something that I did not stop thinking of. I haven't stopped thinking about since that day. And so it just came to me, and it was similar to a program I started in college, where I just woke up and it came to me, and I just started writing like it was something that was downloaded, and I was just transcribing. And so that program is called Believing and Achieving. And Believing and Achieving, the model we used was a butterfly. And so I'd already had this kind of download experience before. So when I got it again, I knew it. I knew what was happening. And the last time I had an experience like that, Believing and Achieving became much bigger than the idea that I originally wrote. We started with one school, 10 mentors, 20 kids. They have two schools, hundreds of mentors, hundreds of kids now. It's an entire city program, where it was just a one school program with me. And so, or when I started it. And so I knew that the power of getting that download and what that meant, that you were being downloaded on. And so I just started writing down what the idea was, which is a butterfly sanctuary, a place where healing is at the center of everything we do. And what my imagination saw was a golf course where every hole was a different modality of service for healing. And I just, it floored me because it made so much sense. We take up all that space for something like a sport. Healing is the most important thing we can do in our lives to be our best version of ourselves. So why not take up that kind of space to focus on healing? And so the dream was born. I didn't believe in it, of course. I don't have $1 million to buy a golf course. And so I wrote it down, but I didn't really believe in it. And then he just kept putting people in my life, kept inspiring me to keep going. And now we're here, and I could pinch myself. I get emotional thinking about how he's loved on me and how he's brought me here. And so I'm grateful beyond words. And that's the Butterfly Sanctuary. It was a divine download about creating a place on the world where healing was the focus. And that's what the Butterfly Sanctuary is.
I love that. And I was so excited when I was reading about it. And you talked about yoga, and you talked about all these different things that we could do. You talked about grounding and just being in a place, like you said, where healing is the mission. Healing is what it's all about. It is the center. Such an amazing uh, concept, and you brought that to life now. How far are you in the dream of the butterfly sanctuary?
I've constructed the nonprofit, so we are a nonprofit. I have the LLC, which is how I've produced the books and how I will produce our uh, webinars, podcasts, and other such services. And then we will, once we have the funds necessary to acquire the land that would hold all these healing modalities. Again, in my imagination, I'm seeing an abandoned golf course or old golf course, but it could be, something else, maybe an older park or a farm, but some extensive piece of land where we can divvy up land for modalities as necessary. And so I am identifying land as I'm raising money for that purchase. So we're right there at the cusp of once we have the funds necessary, we will acquire the land, build the sanctuary, and then we'll start putting the healing modalities in place. We'll also allow all students to come to the Butterfly Sanctuary for free. So we will give memberships through the school districts to make sure that that money isn't a barrier for our grade level students.
Such a giving soul. I love the idea. And we need to start planning retreats
Mm-hmm.
in the meantime to help build the funds as well. We know
Miss
so
Errol
many.
from Duke University is on the line with us as well. And
Okay.
I had a meeting with her before I went to Wisconsin, and she was the first to say, I see the Butterfly Sanctuary as a platform where I could bring artists to do shows and speakings and weddings and you name it. But I see the Butterfly Sanctuary as a platform for folks uh, that are doing great things in the world and need that platform to jump off of. And so, thank you. I know you're in here. I see you. Thank you, Miss Errol.
One of the things that you didn't mention, Eric, is how your books tie to the
Oh
sanctuary.
yes, absolutely. The books, all proceeds from the books go to the Butterfly Sanctuary. The reason why the books exist is because of Sanctuary. That was the dream. That's how I felt like my life was spared. Is that I was given a dream. I was given a purpose. And so I'm here for a purpose. And all book proceeds will go for the Butterfly Sanctuary. And so I can't wait to have everybody there. I can't wait to do conferences there and to birth this dream and bring that out into the world. I feel like if I hadn't done this before I passed, it would go with me. And so definitely want to birth this into the world.
I love that. I love that. And I wanted to make sure that was clear that what you're doing and writing the books, you're not lacing Eric's pockets, you're lacing his dream for
Hmm.
a better future for a lot of people, a place to go and heal
And
and
we're bringing you
recover.
with us.
That
And you
there
bring
you
it with
go.
us.
There
So I
you
mean,
go.
we will do our Fam 5 conference annually will be done from the Butterfly Sanctuary.
I love it.
And
I love
so
it.
we've talked about our Clark Giving to do an annual Thanksgiving giving or giving away for food of other things that are needed from there as well. So we have a lot in the plans. We're not going to give you everything right now, but Fam 5 has a lot coming to add value to the world. Really, I mean, it's about us combining our skill sets so that we're adding value to the community. So we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to it. Stay
Absolutely.
tuned. Please stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's segue back to your writings for a
Mhm.
moment. And when we talked about coming together for an interview, like you said, we didn't prep, you didn't ask me to ask any particular questions or things like that.
Mhm.
But if you wanted to have this moment,
Mhm.
there must be something that you wanted to make sure that you had to share. So maybe that question hadn't been asked. So let me
Mhm.
give you that moment to whatever it is you want to say about your writings, about your journey, about whatever it is to be Mr. Erik Clark. Feel free to share that. Yeah, they're complaining the audio. I think the audio might be getting worse, Eric.
Oh
Um,
no,
Yep. So I'm muting both every time I stop talking, but they're still having feedback.
they're still having feedback. Is now are they having feedback now? So I turned the volume up and I put the microphone close for them. Oh, I see thumbs up now. I see they're doing better now. Erston has his thumb up. Thank you so much, Erston, for being here. Erston, you are as much a part of this. You may not be on this camera, Erston, but you are as much a part of this interview as anybody on it. Me and you have spent hours and hours and hours and hours with nobody else home doing exactly this, brother. So you prepared me for this moment. Thank you so much, Erston Edwards. But yeah, they seem to be hearing us now.
He gave you those flowers last night. Or earlier today. He was talking about all the YouTube videos and the things that you
Mhm.
guys have done together and how all of that prepped him for this very moment. So definitely want to give you your flowers too, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you, Erston.
So go ahead and share.
The and that made me honestly, that made me blank on what it was that you just asked me. That's a good thing though.
So
That gives me
yeah,
another
the
chance
thing.
to high five Erston. Thank you,
All
Erston.
right.
Appreciate you, brother.
So go ahead and mute for a second and I'll re-ask the question.
Okay,
So what we were talking about was the fact that we hadn't prepped for this and you hadn't given me any particular questions. So
I
I
got
want
you.
to make sure that you have the opportunity to share
Hmm.
what's really on your heart.
Oh yeah, my question, and I thought long about this because I thought I might only get one question, and so I really thought long and hard about what I would ask you about reading my writings. And so, as a Black woman, as a mother, reading my writings, especially writings like 16 Shots in a Cover Up, where I talk about Laquan McDonald being shot and I talk about my interactions with police officers. You talked about your nephew. I had a Chevy too. And when the police officer told me on the south side, you're the one that's driving that car. Oh, now I know who's driving that car. I sold the car the next day. I'm not playing with that. I'd already been pulled over so much in the car, anyways. It was just a confirmation that I didn't need to be in that car. It was causing way too much attention, and I didn't need it. And so I sold that car immediately. And so I wanted to know, as a Black woman, as a mother, reading writings of a Black man pouring his soul out and having um, confrontations with all these institutions and not feeling valued and heard or appreciated. How did that hit you? How did that land as a mother of Black children, knowing that this can be the experience of young people in this country?
As our brother Jay likes to say, you're trying to get me in my feels.
Hmm.
It was hard. It was actually really difficult to read. I understood the therapeutic part of it for you. So I cheered you on and I was really glad that you were able to get that out and on paper because now it doesn't live so in you. It's
Hmm.
out. You found a way to get that out of your system because those experiences can be so toxic. But
Hmm.
taking it in as a reader, I had every emotion possible. I was proud as a mom going, look what my baby did. He was able to do that. But it took me some places that I hadn't been in a while. My son he'll be 20 in December, so he's still young. And it
Hmm.
reminded me of an experience we had, believe it or not, when he was on his first basketball team, he was the only Black kid on the team.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we were at a turn and everybody got along really well. We didn't have any issues with the team or anything like that. But I didn't know internally how wounded I was.
Hmm.
And your stories reminded me of those wounds and where they came from. And we were at a tournament locally, and in between we had gone somewhere to eat, and the boys were just being boys. They were probably 10, 12 years old max. And one of the boys had taken off one of his shoes and they were just tossing the shoe like a football outside. And the parents were sitting in the little patio area eating and they were running around playing. My son was sitting next to me. When those little boys, who were all white, were playing, I just saw a game. I just saw kids being innocent and having a good time. And it was so cute. And then my son stood up to go and join the game. And I lost it. I grabbed him before he could get too far. I pulled him right back and told him to sit down. And my heart was breaking because what I said to him is, baby, I know it looks like fun, but when you enter this game, how other people see it may change. It
Mhm.
and if anything gets broken, if anything bad happens, all your little teammates have a good chance of just going home. And whether you did it or not, the likelihood of them believing that it was you, the cops are coming straight to you. Some
Mhm.
There's been so many occasions where there were two people in an argument and the black person was the victim, but they ended up being the one in the handcuffs first.
Mhm.
Before any questions were asked, they were assumed. And we can't control other people's assumptions. And I had to learn that. And it's a painful thing still to this day to know that we can't just be, and know just being us, that the negative is not going to be the default.
Mhm.
I had people tell me all my life, "Oh my God, you're so articulate. You speak so well.
Mhm.
You're so smart." Da 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 da. Da. And
Mhm.
the only reason that that was noteworthy was because of the color of my skin.
Mhm.
No one tells a white person that they're articulate. There's an expectation of a minimum amount of ability that we
Mhm.
don't get. And when we show up and we do well in those spaces, a lot of times we accelerate, and because they're like, you're like a unicorn. You're like this thing they've never
Mhm.
seen before. And it's unfortunate that in 2023, that is still alive. And that's what your writings reminded me. Your writings reminded me of my children being robbed of their innocence
Mhm.
before they were ready to hear these stories. When I grew up, there were places where my in-laws and my parents told, when we would drive from Texas to Louisiana, there were places where we were told absolutely not to stop. You don't have to go to
Mhm.
the bathroom that bad. You're not that hungry.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
don't stop. Get your gas before you get to Vidor,
Mhm.
Texas.
Mhm.
And Vidor, Texas, in my lifetime, chained a black
Mhm.
man to the back of their car and took off, and just skinned him alive because they were the first black family that moved into a neighborhood and they weren't having it. This
Mhm.
was during my lifetime. This isn't this stuff. Why y'all keep talking about slavery? That was so long ago. We're past all of that. Only from your perspective, if you're not on the receiving
Mhm.
of this
Mhm.
racism. And because I'm raising now little black grandbabies as well, it's scary out there. And I want my
Mhm.
kids to be able to drive. I want my kids to be able to just be, and only be judged, like Martin Luther King said, by their character.
Mhm.
But my character is presumed because of the skin that I'm wrapped in,
Yep.
right?
Right.
And a lot of my accolades come because the expectation is so low of the skin that I'm wrapped in. And because I can put together a decent sentence and actually have mastery over the language that I've been speaking my entire life,
Mhm.
it makes me something special. I figured that out young. And I
Right.
had that conversation with my teachers trying to make it better. And I was like, they would do it too,
Mhm.
even if it took a little bit extra. But if they thought that you thought as much of them as you think of me,
Mhm.
it would help them. I had a
Yeah.
teacher tell me, my English teacher, my favorite teacher. I read a poem one year, and she told me Robert Frost couldn't have done it better.
Mhm.
I'm like,
Mhm.
it's his poem. Of course he could. But that's the kind of encouragement I got, being the
Yeah.
only black kid in this class of white students. But I
Mhm.
excelled, partially because they didn't expect as much from me as they
Yeah.
did my counterparts. They just assumed they would know the stuff. But when I knew it, it was like,
Mhm.
and so yeah, you took me through all of those emotions all over again. And thank God there's happiness at the end. And we've got how you get from where you are to, from those low places to getting back, getting on track, because if they are, the lows are lows, the dark is dark. There is nothing there. I will never bathe enough for my skin to be any lighter than it is right now. And
Mhm.
I walk in every room knowing that it's a factor. I also
Yep.
know that my sex is a factor, my
Mhm.
gender. I know that every time I walk into these boardrooms. And I have to make a conscious decision to drop that weight and show
Mhm.
up as me and let the chips fall where they may. I don't bring it in with me
Yep.
anymore. I used to be
Mhm.
braced for it. I
Mhm.
don't brace for it as much. But I do have to teach my kids to brace for it because it's still out there and they've got to find their own path and how to deal with it. And that's what you showed so beautifully and so transparently, your path to dealing
And
with
that
all.
and that was the focus for the third book. In the end, is how, okay, now how did I rebuild? What were the affirmations I used? And so that was probably be my next question. If I get a second question, is if anything, if any of the affirmations you like, there were, and it might not be a spot that you have gotten to, and we can definitely do another sit down, because I do want to hear your feedback around the affirmations and especially being a mindset coach. Like, how did was there anything that you read or heard in that third book that you took from or gleaned from or thought was something that might stick with you? And so I definitely want folks to understand too that we don't leave you on a cliffhanger. We definitely
Right.
walk
We don't leave you down in the dumps.
we definitely talk about talking to yourself, right?
Yeah.
We all talk to ourselves. What's your conversation? Like, let's get
Right.
past that point, right? We used to ask, hey, are you
Mhm.
talking to yourself? No, no, no. We know you're talking to yourself.
What's
How
the
are you talking to
conversation?
yourself at that point?
Exactly. Exactly.
And
What do you
so,
say to be true about you?
hmm
Mhm.
and the voice
So
within
I
will.
haven't gotten to the affirmations, but what I'll say
Okay.
about it is that you live what you've written so beautifully. Like
Hmm.
when we're on our calls early in the morning, I see you out walking. We see
Hmm.
you grounding. So we get to experience you living what you're talking about and what you've written about every single day. So you're a great model of the victory in blunt
Hmm.
force trauma. In the beginning, that little boy was being victimized just because of the geography, just because of where
Hmm.
he was living. But we got to watch him grow up and find his victory and show up in front of us, the Erik Clark that we all know and love. And for that, we are so proud of you and what you've accomplished. And I wanted to ask you one more question. And we still have quite a few people watching and listening, and for whatever miraculous reason, and we're going to take it. Maybe that was Dr. Don and Brian and the crew praying, but miraculously the audio cleared up. I don't know what is
Wow.
different because we're all three mics are unmiked now, and we're still good. So while we've got good clear sound, what do you want everybody? So you what you said to me early on was writing the book was like a hug.
Hmm.
So that was your therapy. That was what it did for you. What's your hope for those who are reading it? What do you want them to walk away with? Walking the journey and going all the way through from the beginning where it's rough and all the way through to we're at those affirmations. What are you hoping that people get from this experience?
I hope that you take from Blunt Force Trauma Volume 1 to shame nothing. Shame nothing in your life.
I love
Accept
that.
yourself, love yourself, and know that healing is the most important thing you can do. Focus on your healing. Most important thing you can do. So that's the purpose of this book. That's what I hope folks take from this, is that to prioritize their healing, and to move in that space unapologetically.
I love that. Shame nothing. Your experiences have uniquely qualified you to bless somebody else. So
Hmm.
when we hide those experiences, we miss the opportunity to share that blessing. So in your healing, as you heal, the shame will lessen and more people will
Hmm.
be blessed by your story. So
Absolutely.
those are my questions for you, Mr. Clark. I didn't know you were going to turn the table and have questions for me, but
Yeah,
you have to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So I'm okay with
absolutely.
that.
No
And
doubt.
I want to give, but everybody came to hear you, so I want to give you the final word. What would you want? How do you want to end our time together today?
If there's any questions, if anybody wants to raise their hand and come up and ask a question from any of the platforms, I would love to.
There's
Crystal has her hand
Crystal.
up. I would
Yep,
certainly love to hear a question from Crystal and
and here
Paulette. I
comes
know
Paulette.
Paulette always has such insightful, amazing things to say, and her spirit is second to none. So I'm looking forward to hearing from Paulette and you as well, Crystal.
All right. So Crystal was first up, and she had actually tried a little bit earlier to get on as well. So, Crystal, go ahead and share what you'd like to share, please.
Um, it's two things. First is actually an invite, Eric, for co-hosting Life Talk with
Can you hear?
Crystal Phoenix. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes.
I wanted to invite Eric to co-host Life Talk with Crystal Phoenix with me one Sunday night. Um,
Mhm.
as your message is very much needed, and I would really be honored if you would join me one night.
Mm. I'd be honored to join you, Crystal. You know that.
And
We support you, Crystal.
please, please put the links for your books in the
Mhm.
chat. Um, so, as a book reviewer for Amazon, I would love to review them and be able to share the reviews and everything to drum up some more sales to go towards the Butterfly Project.
Amazing.
Love that.
Amazing.
Thank
Amazing.
you. I'm going to send it to you now, Cassandra, to put in the chat because I don't have access to it.
Okay.
Erston said that the audio was bad at about 15 minutes ago. Is the audio any better now?
Is it better, Crystal?
Um, I had actually sent Cassandra a message saying that it was echoing, but it has gotten better.
Thank you. Was there anything else you wanted to share?
I love your message. I have a friend in North Carolina who I told about your project, and she's like, "Really, when's it opening?"
We're going to get it
so,
open. We are absolutely going to get it open.
so
I am sending
like,
it to you now, Cassandra.
Okay.
and I'm just so proud of your stand and using your story to heal and help others heal. That's what we do, and I'm proud of
Mhm.
you. And big hugs and flowers to you for doing it, and keep moving.
Appreciate you,
Thank you
Crystal.
so much.
Sending
Thank you
your
so
hugs
much.
right back, Crystal.
All right. So next up is our friend Paulette. Paulette, what do you want to share with us today?
We love you, Paulette.
Uh-oh.
Mhm. 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 Mhm.
conversation about the alignments of the fighter in me, the determined person that I became, the person who is soft as a marshmallow. And everyone who knows me knows you scratch the surface and you just get squished. But the outside, man, that's steel, right? But it's not really. It's a facade that we all had to put on to win those battles. And I just think that you come across as somebody who's had to put those metal shields around yourself to protect yourself. Because when the real Erik Clark stands up, we know you're squidgy and mushy and sorry, but you are. And that's a lovely thing. And I love that about you, right? But you have to say that we all put these protective covers around ourselves when we're in danger or when we're in a predicament.
Absolutely.
And I'm just wondering whether you see that as the same as the black child who has to face the white racism in the same way as the white child who might face the black racism, or do you see it as being a different kind of racism? Because I just see it as if you love someone and you care about someone, you're going to fight, and that was me. I wasn't not going to lose my mate. So that's just the nature of the beast. But I just was interested to hear whether Erik felt that he had to put on this tougher exterior to get through.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. First, amazing question. You threw me she even threw me flowers in the DM before she even came on. So, I mean, you're exceptional, Paulette. First,
of course she did. That's Paulette.
Always loving, always caring, always reaching out, checking on me. It's just, thank you, Paulette, for being you, first and foremost.
Absolutely.
Your question. Racism, as the term, we're going to say or going to define as something that does not is not initiated by folks that are perpetrated by racism, right? So racism is a construct that is based on racial superiority, and that Caucasian or whiteness and closeness to whiteness or proximity to whiteness is better. So that's just a construct that we created, right? So it can be ignored or it can be dismantled, but because our finances and because our systems are created on top of that structure, that's why we feel like racism is structural. It's something that we see in hospitals. It's something we see in the education system. And we measure them differently, but we're talking about the same thing. We're talking about the ism. And there are more isms than just race. There's sexism, right? There's many isms. And so I try not to spend a lot of time on defining the difference, more of just dismantling the systems, right? Because the systems are there to put us against each other and then also benefit those that empower or those that keep that construct alive. And so, Paula, whenever I'm talking about racism, especially in large forums like this, I tend to focus on looking at the structure, identifying the structure, and then dismantling the structure. How can we come together to make sure that, for example, the 13th Amendment is not allowing for the persecution of my brothers and sisters at a greater amount or a greater rate than others, right? So we know the 13th Amendment in the...
I get that 100%. What you're saying is how my mind works exactly the same way. Let's dismantle it. Let's work out why. What can we do to change it? How do we? And that's the part that I think at some point I would love for us to have this conversation, whether it's a one-on-one or a campfire group class with you. I would love to have a conversation, because I think what you don't realize is, and I'm going to tell you, Erik, because I knew this, you are a trailblazer, sir. A trailblazer. And what you have the ability to do is take us along that journey with you. and you've done it. You've already done it. And so for me, we need to escalate this. And Crystal, I'll be with you. I'll be buying 10 of the books and giving them to my friends. We'll all be making it a bestseller. And then when from that happens, we go further. Because what
Thank
we need
you,
to
Paulette.
do in everybody's hands, black, white, green, purple, orange, and whatever color else you are, need to read this book to understand, and then we move forward. So you are a trailblazer, sir.
I second and third and fourth and fifth what Paulette says. Absolutely. By the way, and I want to be in that call about changing the world too.
Did you say
Thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Paulette.
And
I really
Paulette, I want
You
to.
can't be in the team.
Eric's trying to talk to you, Paulette. Go ahead, Erik.
I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it. I'm receiving it. Thank you.
Hopefully
You
you.
don't have to thank me. You don't thank me. I thank you. That's what this is all about. This is the Erik Clark Show. We are here at your show, and this is an audience with, and I am telling you that you are a trailblazer. And Cassandra, she's done an amazing job.
Thank you.
Mhm.
People like Ellen couldn't have done that job. Yeah, I don't know.
I love you, Paulette.
But you know what I'm saying. You did a great job, but the man who's the man of the hour
That's right.
is our Erik.
Yes.
And listen, trailblazer is what you should call yourself from now on. I want that title taking. Okay? You can have my sanction, all of that, but I want trailblazer in there somewhere too.
You got a new header. You got to add to your header, trailblazer.
I haven't finished writing the song yet, Paulette. I gotta finish
working on
writing the song.
the Jackson 5 song, the Fam 5 song you talked about last night. But Paulette, in all seriousness, and I see you as a trailblazer as well.
Absolutely.
And what just transpired between you and Erik is a part of the answer. It's a part of the solution. We have to come out of being afraid to have uncomfortable conversations and being afraid to ask the questions that we're afraid. If I don't get it just right, if I don't use the exact right terms, I'm going to be offensive. Until we move past some of that stuff, then we can't have the conversations to get to the understanding that we're all seeking. Now, we were having a conversation about the Black experience, but the Black experience is the US experience. It is the world experience. The only reason that it's come down like this because some bad decisions were made a long, long time ago, and we all got shuffled in to that system that Erik was talking about. But to dismantle the system, we have to actively have conversations and we have to be willing to hear the other person. Defenses have to go down because when I start talking about my experience in Black skin against some of the things that I've faced in a white America, I'm not talking to you, Paulette, because I know you don't represent that. So if you were to take it and be offended and we get crossways, the point's been missed and we farther exasperate the problem. But when you come like you did with questions and curiosity, you create a space where we can have the necessary conversations and actually start to move the dial forward. And so in that, I see you as a trailblazer as well. Erik, is
And a
there anything
wonderful
you want
advocate. A
to add
wonderful
before we
advocate.
bring Jay?
I was just saying,
And he said,
and a wonderful advocate.
yes, wonderful advocate, Paulette, is what he's also saying. So if any of you guys, we're going to be wrapping up soon. So if anybody else wants to add to the conversation, now would be the time to raise your hand. We see some beautiful people in the audience that we admire, and we've been in and out of your rooms or rooms with you. So we know you have lots to say. So we just want to invite you into the conversation if you'd like to be a part. And let's, Jay, why don't you go ahead and unmic and let's hear what you've got to share. My brother from another mother. Let's go, Jay.
Wow. Thank you. Cassandra, Erik, let me just say this.
Here he
I
comes.
started leaning into my purpose as a result of going to Erik's audio event.
Mm-hmm.
This was the evolution of Jay Pasquale, the storytelling strategist. Because at that moment, when I heard the words that came from Erik's book, it resonated with me. And so I'm going to address the elephant in the room. While I am a person of color,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not black. I don't know if anybody noticed. I don't know if anybody.
We don't have no black Pasquales.
Wow.
I would say if I stay in the yard for a little bit longer, I might pass, but
You already passing, brother. You had us all
So,
fooled.
yeah.
You had
You're
us
certainly
all fooled.
minority. Your skin may not be black, but
His
your
soul is black.
ancestors were.
His soul
Right,
is
his
black.
ancestors were.
y'all are great. The people in the audience are like, what's going on?
I know, right? He's our brother. That's it. And
That's it.
siblings
That's
poke at
all.
each other. Siblings poke at each other.
My magenta warrior.
This is the thing. This is the thing right here. When we came together, you came together organically, and we came together, and it felt like family.
Yeah.
And so, I think this is the thing. First it started with the poetry, and it started moving further with storytelling and how that moved me. And so when you each individually poured into me in these audio events, my goal was to pour back into you. And so when I was brought in to the fold, that was my goal. That continues to be my goal. And I think if we just look at it from that perspective, there's nothing else that needs to be said about that experience or my experience. Altogether, it's a human experience.
Yes.
And I'm just happy to be a part of it. The other day, we were talking about the barbecue. I'm just happy to be here getting my bone and getting my plate and having my little potato salad. I'm good. I'm good. If you need me to cook, that's what I do. I'm
Yes.
good. But
yes, we need you to cook.
This is it. I think if you're a great storyteller, it doesn't matter, right? Whether it comes from someone in Chicago, or whether it comes from a person in Ghana, or a little boy from Guam. If the story resonates with you, it has an impact, no matter the race, the color, creed, or whatever. The stories, I think, are going to help us understand the human experience, no matter where we come from, no matter what status we are, no matter where we are as far as social status, right? So I just wanted to say, first off, thank you, Erik, for making me believe that there's a purpose for me, because I started leaning into it. And then, two, thank you for the Fan 5 allowing me to be a brother and accepting me for who I am. Not for the status I hold or whatever, because I don't hold the status. I got a status. I drive a Hyundai Tucson. What are you talking about?
A Hyundai Tucson.
So thank you so much, and Erik, congratulations, man. And I'll be here to help you on your journey, bro, in putting this book and this volume series together.
The only
Thank
thing
you.
I'll say, and I am 100% supportive of everything you said, Jay, except for the part about us allowing you in to the Fam Five. We didn't
Right.
allow you into anything. We formed a bond as people that was just undeniable. We just stepped into what already was, and you were a part of that from the very beginning. So don't feel like you've been, because this isn't a click thing, you know? So you weren't allowed into anything. Families form how they form, and you're just a part of the family, and that's it. That's all. Eric, anything you want to say in response to Jay?
You said it perfectly, as usual. I'm gonna get you your Gail King Reporter of the Year award ready, because you're glowing while you're doing it, and I swear this can't be the first time. We got to do it again.
All right. This is the first time, but we can definitely
Yeah.
do it again. All right. And next up, we have Herbie Mack. Herbie, would you please unmute and share whatever you'd like to share with us?
Yes, yes. Thank you for having me. Can you guys hear
Absolutely.
me okay?
We can hear you great.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Perfect. First and foremost, I want to say big kudos to Eric for sharing part of his story. I know for myself, I do storytelling as well. The question that I have for you, because there's probably someone in there that's going through something that's like, man, I want to tell my story, but I'm not strong enough or brave enough. The question I have is, how long did it take you to heal and be okay with your story, your past, to help others? So, because some people are like, oh man, your storytelling skills is phenomenal. Like, man, I can't wait, and they're currently going through that phase. So, overall, like, how long was it for you to heal and then be at peace to say, hey, let me go share my story with the world?
Great question.
Great question. Absolutely. Thank you for the question. It took a while. And how I judge it, if I couldn't read it out loud, I wasn't ready to perform, and I wasn't ready to publish it. And so the first book, I think it took about a year to publish after I was pretty much done with it. And so for me, my process includes being able to read out loud, and then being able to read out loud to someone else and hold myself together emotionally, right? If I'm reading and I'm crying and I'm not ready to share that. I was ready to get it out. I was ready to express it, but I'm not ready to share it. And so sometimes those writings will go through a process, like 16 shots in a cover up. That took a week to write, 2 weeks to write, and then I couldn't read it. I felt ashamed to that I was using or that I was speaking about my brother's passing in a way that just felt so raw. It felt painful to me. And so it just took a while with me sitting with that and getting comfortable with it, because it was the truth. It was on TV. Laquan McDonald was gunned down on television. And so I didn't feel like anything I wrote was inappropriate. It was difficult for me to say. And just until I could say it, I wasn't going to publish it. And so that's my process. I don't publish something unless I can come on the camera and say it. And so I wrote about my mother being assaulted. I wrote about my grandmother being assaulted. Those were really hard things to write about. And until I could read it, I didn't publish it. And so thank you for the question. My barometer is, can I read it out loud to somebody else? If I can't publish it.
I love that. I hope that answered your question, Herbie.
Yes, it did. It just, as a speaker, I get asked that a lot, and very similar to what Eric was saying about, just being comfortable with your past. If you can't say it out loud to yourself, then I don't think you're ready to say it out loud to others. So I just want, people to understand that it's a journey, right? It's not even a journey; it's a marathon. So you have to take it like that. It's just you want to help others. Just put on your own oxygen mask first before you assist others in being comfortable with the past.
Love it. Thank you so much for that share. That's powerful.
The
All right.
marathon continues.
The marathon continues. That's what he just said. All right. So next up is another member of our Fam Five, Mr. Content himself, our brother, Brian Smart. Brian, what do you have to share?
This is less of a share and more of a flower giving moment.
Oh. You ready, Erik? You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Man, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to everything that everybody's saying. I'm listening to Erik bat these questions back. I'm listening to Cassandra talk like she's been doing this for decades.
Gail King.
Erik and I'm with Erik and giving you your Gail King Award. You're growing while you're going over here, girl. It's amazing.
Thank you.
But Erik, man, I'm loving your transparency and your vulnerability and the calmness that you have. So I just wanted to come up and say thank you. You're an inspiration to more people than you know. I just wanted to say thanks, brother.
Thank you. Thanks, B. Appreciate you, man.
So all I want to say, Erik, is that everything that you've been through, every word that you have put on paper, every experience that you have triumphed over prepared you for such a time as this. So it's only right that the last word be yours. So you say what it is that you would like to say, and then we are going to end the room, all of us, with our gratitude and admiration for what you shared with us today and what you've done up to this point, and excitement for what you're going to do next.
Thank you. The first thing I have to say is I'm receiving all this love. It will not go to waste. I'm actually going to take a minute after the interview just to bathe in it because it's life-giving and I want to live. And so that would be my last word is above all, heal. Whatever your healing practices are, please pour into them. Please strengthen them. Please evaluate them. Please continue to add to your tool belt when it comes to healing, because there's nothing more important. So if I could leave you with a word, that's the word I would leave you with: heal above all. And if you need any help with anything, you're struggling with I've been in a dark place, in those dark places. And so please reach out. Do not suffer in silence. I repeat, do not suffer in silence. Please reach out to one of the Fam Five. Please reach out to somebody because there are people here who care for you, who love you, who will help you make it to that next step so that the perspective you can see will be different and we can make some healthy choices. So if there's any mental health, if there's anything that's feeling off or not aligned in your life and you need some help, please reach out to us. We're also going to start doing a soul tank where we're going to really envelop and surround entrepreneurs and folks who from their vision board need help getting to the vision. And so we're going to be offering ways in which we can continue to support you and help you grow and become the best version of yourself. So be on the lookout. This is only the beginning of Fam 5 and how we're going to continue to support our community as we move forward. Thank you for supporting the book. I really appreciate it. I didn't see this happening 2 years ago. I didn't see this happening 6 months ago when me and Erson Edwards were going over the book titles and conversations every day on YouTube. It seemed like we were spinning our wheels for a while there. And now I know to sit here and know that all that was in preparation for this. And my father knew, and he was guiding me right here to this point. I feel so aligned. I feel so blessed. I feel so privileged to be here with you, with my family, with everyone that's still an hour and a half later listening to me talk about this this book, which is my experience. And I'm going to take a moment to bathe in this. So thank you. This is my birthday, Christmas gift for the next 10 years rolled into one. It really is a confirmation that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm walking in the steps that my father has led for me. And so thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate the support. You're going to get it right back because I'm the flower man and I love giving flowers. So I promise that energy is coming right back to you. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your support and love. Thank you, Cassandra, Your award is being designed as we speak, and I look forward to giving it to you because you are radiant and have done an amazing job. And so I look forward to our next interview.
All right.
Thank you.
You guys heard from the man, the author, the poet, the lover of life. We salute you, Erik. And with that, we are going to close our room. Thank you guys for sticking with us and for your thoughtful questions and your support. We are forever grateful, and we'll see you soon in the next room. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Erik. I love you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Love you. Love you.